Okay, thank you. This is the RM of Springfield meeting agenda for March 18th of 2025, starting at exactly 6 p.m. A little bit of housekeeping rules, no hats in the chambers, cell phones on, off, or vibrate, please. No recording or video recording is allowed inside the chamber. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I'm Mayor Patrick Therrien for the RM of Springfield. All councillors are present, and I'll acknowledge who they are. To my right is Ward 1 Deputy Mayor Glenn Fuel. Descending order, Ward 2 is Andy Kaczynski. Next will be Mark Miller, Ward 3, and last will be Ward 4, Melinda Warren. So we will ready to start. If I can get a land acknowledgement, our Deputy Mayor says that he would do that.
Yeah, the RM of Springfield acknowledges that we are gathered on ancestral lands, Treaty 1 territory, traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Tree, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and on the national homeland of the Red River Métis.
Thank you. Could I get, we're going to have the approval of the agenda. A mover and a seconder for the approval, please. Patrick and Melinda. Is there any additions to the agenda from council? I see none. And if I can get a show of hands for approval of the tonight's agenda. This is carried. And then okay. All right. We can go to adoption of the minutes there. 5.1 is February the 4th council minutes for February the 4th of 2025. Get a mover and a seconder for that, please. Glenn and Melinda. Any questions, comments with regards to February 4th council minutes? Mark?
Thank you, Mayor. Dr. Daniel Page, who is what Delegation, has submitted some revisions, and it's actually on the agenda. I'm just wondering how they were applied to the minutes, what corrections or additions were made to the minutes.
Administration made no changes. It'll be up to council to suggest any changes you want to incorporate.
Thank you. So I do have some comments on that, and I would like to read that if all possible. The minutes prepared for the February 4th, 25 council meeting being considered for approval at this meeting contain factual errors and major omissions. I ask you to review a video that Dr. Page provided. I'm not sure if you had a chance to do that, but the whole document provides why changes are needed, but for brevity, a list of the corrections are given immediately below. And I believe those were emailed to administration, and I'm not sure if they're emailed to the rest of council, but they are in the agenda, so they're definitely there. So in terms of amendments, there's a list of suggested changes, and I'm not sure if you want me to go through all of this, but line 1 change was changed to addressing some misinformation on December 17, 2024 meeting to instead was corrected to addressing some misinformation on December 17th, 2024 meeting. Line 4, just before he, quote, reminded the council, close quotation, insert the following sentence, Daniel contrasted strategies of addressing misinformation, what misinformation and disinformation are, and gave his advice around addressing misinformation as a professor and obligations associated with these strategies. Next, the whole sentence discussing Dr. Page citing a local newspaper is missing, despite this occurring during the delegation. The final sentence lacks context, and we're suggesting adding the following sentence. In the following order on line 8, just before the final sentence, Daniel said there were 3 passages related to December 17, 2024 council meeting containing misinformation published in the Clipper, January 2nd, 2025 on page 7. I think I'll dispense with the rest of it because, again, we all have copies of this instead of reading it. And
yeah.
But I would suggest that some changes be made because they're inaccurate, particularly to the delegation that was presented to us.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. Anybody else? I don't know how many times we've said this. I've said this. Their minutes are an abbreviated synopsis of what the council meeting was. It's not transcription there. That's what the audio is all about. It's strictly on that. So the minutes, way we have them now, I see no reason to change it there. So I see no other questions from council. If we can vote with regards to the council minutes, that's item 5.1 for February the 4th of 2025. First of all, those in support with a show of hands, please. That'll be Melinda, Glenn, and Patrick. Those opposed? Councillors Miller and Kaczynski, and so passed. Then we'll get to 5.2, and that's council minutes for February the 18th. Can I get a mover and a second for that too, please? Councillors Miller, Fuel, and Warren. Okay, I see there's an addition here, request for revisions for February the 18th. There, has everybody read those revisions there? It's part of our agenda. Any questions or comments before we vote with regard to that? Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. Once again, the February 18th council meeting minutes being considered tonight contain factual errors, have strange changes compared to the agenda and omissions. Again, we have the package of changes, but I would say that I would be incensed if someone documented my presentation and delegation or comments inaccurately and wrongfully. In fact, it would be a situation where I would probably be irate and or very disappointed at very least at how these are being recorded. So at very least, we have these for the record. I'm not going to read them because they are part of the actual agenda, but it's unfortunate that we're not, catering to our public, that we're not listening actually, and that we're not amenable to providing some reconciliation and some changes that they suggest, because I would, as I say, as a delegation and reporting to council, if a former councillor or some meeting recorded my or interpreted my delegation inappropriately or wrongfully, it sure would not be a very appropriate thing. So I'm not sure I can convince or say anything different to the rest of council. But
thank you, Councillor Miller. Again, it's all recorded, and they're minutes. It's a synopsis. We've gotten direction from the provincial government with regards to this. It is meant for an abbreviated breakdown of what had occurred there. It should be a page. We're getting into 2 or 3 pages there. This has taken up a lot of time for our CEO and staff there. And again, we've been through this for, several times. So with that said, I think we're prepared to vote. If I can get a show of hands of those in support of the council minutes for February the 18th. That's item 5.2, by the way, on the agenda. Can I get a show of hands? Councillor Warren and Deputy Mayor Fuel and Therrien. Those opposed? Councillors Miller and Kaczynski, and so passed. Then we get to 6.1, please. That's the reports. I move her in a second for that too, please. Warren and Therrien. Is there any questions with regards to the reports for elected officials? Mark?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to also add to this report, and I know it will be reflected in our next month's reports, but I was just so delighted to have attended the Immaculate Conception Church bake sale this past Saturday. And what an event. It's the first time I ever had the opportunity to partake in it. And it was so well attended, such wonderful volunteers from our community. And I suspect a number of thousands of dollars were raised towards supporting the Immaculate Conception Church in our community. And I have to say, I didn't do it as a political event. I wanted to see what it was all about. And I am just overwhelmed at the amount of generosity for those people who baked goods for the church, as well as who volunteered. And it was so efficient. There was a lineup virtually outside the door, and it flowed so well. What an efficient way to host an event. And I hope in future, our council can promote, support, and also publicize events like this, because this Immaculate Conception Church has such a integral history for our community, and we need to support these kinds of things, whether it be Cooks Creek Museum or other ones within our community. But I am just absolutely overwhelmed. So I put 2 thumbs up to the community for hosting this and doing it so well.
Thank you, Councillor Miller, and it's good to hear. I'm just wondering how much you bought.
Not enough, but they're all good. I bought pierogies, halapshis, and some breads.
Oh, I'm literally, my mouth is watering when you said that there, but okay, well, that's good to know. Then unless there's anything else, I don't see anything else. We'll go to, do we need a vote on that?
Yeah, be it resolved that council activity reports for the month of February be received as information.
Show of hands, those in support. It's unanimous and is carried. Then we get to departmental reports, please. A mover and or seconder with regards to that. Miller and Kaczynski. Did you have your hand up, Andy? I grabbed it there quickly anyways. Any questions regards to departmental reports? Deputy Mayor Fuel.
I had one question. On their Springfield Police Service report, I was looking for bylaw line to see how many bylaw enforcements they've done. And I don't see that on this report now. And I know in the past it used to be there, so I was just curious. Maybe you can do follow up on that. Unless I missed it, but I went through it twice. And I didn't see anything. Unless they haven't had any this month.
Yeah, I think even if it's 0, it still stays on there. So I'll just confirm why it's not being seen on there right now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Warren?
I have more of a comment.
Okay.
So I attended the fraud seminar that was put on by the Springfield Police this week on Monday at 7 p.m. at the Enola Community Club. It was attended by some residents and some residents that are from other municipalities, so that was nice to see. I would encourage all of our residents to make an effort to go and listen in. We have one more session because this is Fraud Awareness Month, the month of March. So there is one more session at the Enola Community Club next Monday, March 26th at 7 p.m. I would encourage you all to come and sit through it and really understand the different varieties of fraud and how they can really affect your life. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Warren. I thank you very much for attending that there, and I think frauds are getting so sophisticated nowadays. It's very concerning there, and the more that Springfield Police can do on that, and I applaud them for going out and doing that. It's a good service for our citizens there, and like you say, it's from other RMs that are coming there as well. So we're not going to turn people around if they're from other RMs. Of course, this is a public event meant for our RM people, but I acknowledge their work on that, and it's a job well done. Unless there's other questions or comments there. I was going to make some comments with regards to the asset management, the properties there, but I got some clarification about that. So can I just get the resolution read and then we can vote on that?
Be it resolved that February department operating reports be accepted as information.
Show of hands, those in support. It is carried unanimously. We got 15 minutes there before Mrs. Lalonde there. Can we just get a Do we have to wait till 6:30 or can we get an agreement on that?
We should probably wait till 6:30 so we can do the bylaws first.
Okay, then did you want to, if we can, sorry, Mrs. Lalonde, that we have to wait till 6:30, you probably know. You arrived a little bit late too. I'm just kidding you. Why don't we go to 8.1, please, there, and that'll be bylaws. I gotta get my glasses. 2504 fees and charges by law. Can I get a show of hands, or a mover and a seconder for that, please? Glenn and Melinda. Anybody have any questions with regards to that? And I guess we can bring up that there was some comments from Mrs. Nyland with regards to this. Is this something that we're gonna, do we read this out or is
Yeah,
this something that,
so I'll just go through the attachments that are on the agenda. So there's a copy of the draft bylaw for the fees and charges. There's a comparison document that we did for development fees, another document comparing capital levies, and then we received some public comments as well. So I can try and address some of the public comments. So you'll note that animal control fees were completely removed from this bylaw. Those fees can already be found in the Animal Control Bylaw and the Municipal Bylaw Enforcement Act bylaw. So we felt that having in this bylaw, that would mean 3 bylaws need to be changed if there was any amendments. So we took the animal control fees completely out of this because they're already addressed in another bylaw. There was a note about charging fees, and the fees should actually match what the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act regulates for those. So if you go to the Municipal Act, it's section 236(1). That provides a list of municipal records that must be provided, such as minutes, bylaws, assessment rolls, financial plans and statements, and other documents that the RM can charge a fee for. And that fee cannot be more than a comparable fee payable under FIPA. Currently, we provide those documents generally without charging a fee at all. We will post those on our website, or if people come in and want copies, we don't charge for those kind of public documents. And then there was concern that we weren't raising the water and sewer levies enough. So I did attach the capital levy comparison that we did with surrounding municipalities. So the water and waste, asset management and planning departments have done extensive review of those levies that we're charging. We are pretty much in line with a lot of our surrounding municipalities for levy amounts. And once those growth projects are complete and growth-related capital projects and costs are known, then staff will prepare a revamped development levy system for council consideration. So at this point, we've only slightly raised those because we don't want to raise them so much that we can't justify the increase.
thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment on the development levies comparison. I think there's an error there on the transport line. It says $350, and I believe that should be $3,500.
Sorry, which
The development levies comparison on the very last line is Springfield. There's an F missing under Springfield also, but it's misspelled. But I have $350.
Are you looking on the bylaw itself?
No, I'm looking at the chart. If you go to the chart,
Okay.
RM of Springfield.
So comparison of development fees or capital levy comparisons?
The development levies comparisons. And it may be correct, but I see St. Clement's 1,000 and East St. Paul 4,500, Headingley 2,500, and then we have 350. And that could be correct. Maybe I
Yeah.
It just seems a little different than the rest. Do you see the chart?
Yeah.
I just questioned that.
So the only 350 I see is under subdivision line. Is that what you're looking at?
Okay, maybe I'm at the wrong one. Sewer or combined water and sewer. It's under transport, the line transport. Do you see what I'm looking at?
Transport.
I don't see that. Oh, that's different than what I
Okay.
got.
Maybe I'm in a different one. Hang on.
So
Yeah.
that's the capital
levy, Karen.
signalization transportation control levy. So right now that's 350.
Okay, so that is correct.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to reconfirm that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a portrait versus a landscape, and when we saved it, it kind of got.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
no, I just wanted to make sure the numbers were correct. That's all. Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. Referring to the same chart as Councillor Fuel, I'm just wondering why we don't have any recreation levies. I see that St. Clement's, West St. Paul, McDonald do, but this has been a kind of a concern. If you look at our neighbors, East St. Paul, they charge upwards of 19,500 for a lot. Ours is currently 17,650, at least in this information. So I don't see there being any harm. Like, we're always going back to the taxpayer and or boring. This would be our opportunity. I talked to several councillors at the RM meetings, and this is a good mechanism where we can have these development fees support recreation going forward, not only for Oakbank, obviously, but for Enola and Dugald and Cooks Creek and everywhere else. So could we not, or should we not even consider some sort of recreation development fees?
So those same departments are working on additional levies. So they're currently looking at those levies, what we could charge. We have to justify those based on future projects. So they're still working on that. We just wanted to get this bylaw first reading done, but we're not quite ready with those levies yet. And those would be something we'd discuss with council before we'd bring them forward in the bylaw.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think it's important, as you know, this is our opportunity to increase these development costs because, as you know, there's a lot of input. So yeah, I'm supportive and moving forward with whatever they're going to present to us, I suspect.
Any other questions? That's a good point by Councillor Miller. We can wait for what the administration comes up with regards to that. I just had just a quick comment there. We just have to, I put down there the increased capital levy by Mrs. Nyland for water and sewer from 250 to 200 respectively that we have there. We have to be cognizant of the fact that we have to keep we don't want the costs to go too incredibly high that we kind of throw ourselves in the competitive market with let's say Tache and St. Clement's and all these other RMs there. I think our tax rate is quite high. We have a $2 billion assessment value, so we just have to make sure that we keep ourselves competitive there. But the administration, as per Councillor Miller's suggestion about the recreation levy there, so it's going to be a work in progress. That's all I have there. Unless there's anything else, if we can get a show of hands there. Have we read that already?
No.
Okay. Oh.
Be it resolved that first reading be given to bylaw number 2504, being a bylaw of the RM of Springfield to revise and update the fees payable to the RM of Springfield for municipal services rendered.
I'll get a show of hands for the first reading bylaw 2504 fees and charges of bylaw. Those in support? That is unanimous and it is carried. We have 5 minutes, so maybe if we could just take a 5-minute break and we will allow Mrs. Lalonde to start at 6:30 on the button. Maybe even a minute or two sooner. Are we close enough to 6:30? Yeah, why don't we start 5 minutes early? So if you'd like to come up, Mrs. Lalonde, if you're ready. If not, you need an extra 5 minutes, by all means.
Oh, I see. Well, thank you for allowing me to come here to speak to this evening. I want to address item 9.1. You want to tell me, I should say who I am. Karen Lalonde, Bank,
Yep.
sorry.
Boy, you read my mind.
I want to address item 9.1 of the WMR 2025 membership fee. And I thought this was already addressed at a prior meeting and voted upon, but I could be wrong. Anyway, first, this is not an expenditure that I believe that benefits Springfield at this time, or in fact, in my opinion, at any time. It has not been decided if Springfield is going to be in or going to be out. And until that time, I'm sure the taxpayer dollars could be used towards a number of things that benefit our municipality. Taxpayers don't want another layer of bureaucracy. We pay for 2 as it is, 3 actually, and I feel that's quite enough. And Winnipeg has their own financial problems to deal with, and many surrounding municipalities don't want or don't need their control over us. The city of Winnipeg and the province can fund it until such time as the surrounding 18 surrounding RMs make a decision to join or to opt out. If they feel their citizens are in favor, then they can carry the ball for a while until we get Bill 4 or whatever bill we've got to get passed before we can go ahead and make that decision. MWR was brought forward in secrecy and not in a democratic manner. Citizens were left in the dark with what was happening behind closed doors. And we look forward to transparency in the future and accountability of our taxpayer funds. I guess my question is why is this coming forward again?
Sorry, I got some echo here. We're going to vote on that actually next, but we deferred it just to get some clarification from WMR, and we actually had a ministers' meeting after that as well, and received a clarification from the highest level. Essentially, I'm going to be talking when I'm saying this in regards to the same 9.1. We're required to pay our bills, and we are still part of the WMR. I hope to be so.
But did we opt in?
Well, no, we were mandated in. We're mandated by the act. The province mandated all the RMs around the city of Winnipeg to be part of the WMR. This Bill 4, I think the minister or the premier had stated as a freedom bill. In fact, Bill 4 will allow the RMs to opt out if they chose to do so. But our bill still is required to be paid. We are still part of it.
Well, thank you anyway for the response. I appreciate it. You have a question, Andy?
Councillor Kaczynski?
Yes, I'd just like to make comment. Thank you, Mr. Lalonde, for your presentation. I would think that we should ask for refund from WMR for all those years, 5 years that we was paying to them and with no results, because that plant 2050 was just scrapped at this moment. So why we don't ask for refund? Like, we cannot pay for something that I don't know how these people spend all this time, and I don't know where this money going.
Well, the problem being is the taxpayer was never aware of this. It was done,
Yeah, that's correct. And you know,
stores.
like 5 years of everybody time and aggravation and nothing achieved. And I don't know why government don't see that. And
I-
just put stop to it.
I am just saying that Mrs. Lalonde isn't in a position for that, nor are we. But we can discuss that at 9.1, which is next in any case. So you can bring it up as well, Andy. But I don't think Mrs. Lalonde is in a position there to give an opinion on that. Apart from, you know,
Thank you very
yourself.
much.
No, I
Sorry.
just presented my opinion. I didn't ask Mrs. Lalonde to give us any advice on that. Thank you.
Maybe you should.
Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mrs. Lalonde, for coming out today to share your concern about this particular initiative. My background is the Institute of Urban Studies, and I know that when I was there, we studied a number of capital regions. In other words, various cities that had municipalities surrounding it, that if they would collaborate and cooperate, there was actually some dual benefit. So there is some dual benefit, but in this context, it's a little bit different. So my question to you is, do you think that there could be a better arrangement or a better way that we could share information? So in other words, the City of Winnipeg has their goals and aspirations. The RM of Springfield-Tache and everybody else has their aspirations, and they may not always see eye to eye, but how could one work together to join synergies? In other words, I could give an example. I think it was in Pittsburgh where the municipalities wanted to draw certain industries to their region. And another example would be San Francisco, as you know, in San Jose. San Jose is the hub for the tech industry. And so they collaborated together to attract by taxation, by a whole bunch of different methods to bring the tech giants to their region, which they did, as you know, from Google to everyone else. But how could we work in some sort of a way with the City of Winnipeg and other municipalities to build on these kinds of positive outcomes? I know there's competition amongst the municipalities. Everybody wants that perfect fit, that perfect company. But as it was demonstrated to us with the document that the WMR they released, it looked like there was a lot of verbiage, but there was really no outcomes, no goals, and it was a loosey-goosey kind of a document. And that's why obviously the provincial government said, you know, you guys got to get back to square one and revisit this. But do you have any concept or an idea? And I know because you were on council here, how we could work better with Tache, West St. Paul, and all the rest of them going forward outside of the WMR?
For an example, I just wondered, as far as our water treatment plant went, I think Tache was looking at one as well. You know, there could have been a conversation between the two municipalities to try to work together to maybe, you know, get one and both communities pay into it. So I don't think, you know, anybody's hands are tied without reaching out to other RMs that we have, you know, we both get a benefit from whatever we're looking at. I just don't think we need another layer of bureaucracy. And well, as the document is written, I think it's just total overreach and costly overreach.
You know, I participate, like other councillors and the mayor, in the Association of Regional Municipalities. And it's a very good forum. There's very little cost to it other than our time and obviously some meal. But I find when I go to these meetings, or once per month, you may have in the past, that we share ideas of what's happening in each of the communities. And it's amongst the best forums that I can see us having, because you know, I might talk to Councillor Johnson, say, from McDonald, and he's saying that they have concerns with this, or their cost for a rec center or that, or, you know, so we all collaborate in that
Sure.
context, right? And it's
No, I find that's very helpful.
very helpful, yes.
You don't want to drill me? No.
She's close enough.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Lalonde. Then I think if there's any other questions, we can move on from delegation and go to 9.1. If we can get a mover and a seconder for the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region 2025 membership fee. Get a mover or seconder, Patrick and Melinda. Somebody wants to start off with regards to this. There is comments from Mr. Giesbrick, but I think we can do our discussions first and then go to the comments later. Councillor Miller.
Thank you again, Mayor. I've had a number of residents who have raised concerns with the WMR, and as you know, the public hearings had to be closed down in Niverville because there was such anxiety and concern with the procedure. Thank goodness, as I said, that Premier Canoe and his minister basically had a second sober look and revisited the document and are now looking at other options. But the residents in my area are concerned for a number of reasons. One, we obviously don't want to be controlled by the city of Winnipeg. We do want to be involved and understand the concerns that they have and share in some of the progress that they have. But at the same time, I guess my question is actually specific to the CAO tonight, is how long have we been paying the WMR membership fees, and to what cost to our ratepayers has this been a burden? In other words, as you know, the last 2 years we paid over $17,000 in membership fees, and we yielded a big goose egg. Not one thing came of investing $34,000 or $35,000. Not one thing other than animosity from the public and this barrier between what seems to be between the politicians or the political and bureaucratic elite and the public, because the public were again locked out of that meeting in Niverville. So I suspect without proper stakeholders involved, we have to realize that the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region, and I go on record for this, I'm not sure if they've changed, but their chairperson was the president or chairman of the Winnipeg Home Builders Association. And so not only that, but you have a mayor from East St. Paul who owns Carrington Homes, it's public record, is also evidently a builder and is on the Winnipeg Metropolitan Region. So all I'm saying is, as I brought in that lobbyist bylaw some time ago, you have another organization here that has the interests of the home building segment of our society and doesn't best represent the people of Manitoba, or at least of this region. And so I await perhaps your answer to, I am sincerely concerned, and I hate to raise this because it's going on in the United States in a negative tone as it should perhaps, but the Doge thing, are we throwing away another $17,000 to the wind and say, here's $17,000 and come back with your report in 2 years and maybe we'll like it, maybe the public won't even have a chance to have any dialogue in it. If it's mandatory, and I believe the mayor is truthful in what he says, it's mandatory to pay this, why are we even voting on it? In other words, if it's a mandatory fee, I guess just cut the check. It shouldn't require our
I
vote
did
yes or
attempt
no.
to do that, and council pulled it out of that listing and asked that we hold it back and bring it back for a vote. So I talked to everybody I could. Council met with the minister. We talked to the senior staff in his department. There's a bill for FAQ on the consent agenda that clearly lays out if you are a member, you are required to pay those membership fees. That bill 4, until it's passed, council doesn't have the right to opt out. So at this point, we're mandated to pay that. The RM has been a member of what used to be referred to as the Partnership of the Capital Region, which was created in 1998, and we have been a member since that time. So I don't think I'm going to comment on if we got anything good out of it or not. That's for council to decide.
Thank you for your answers. Is it possible to, I don't want to put you on the spot because I know it's not probably even possible, but how much money has the RM input into the Winnipeg Partnership or the now WMR since 1998?
I
If
can
you
get
could-
back to you with that. I know they've had, I think this is a third name change, so I'd have to go back, go to all the names and search everything we've paid and get back to council with an amount.
And that would be useful for a couple of reasons. One, it would be an argument to the province saying that, you know, we provided $100,000, if that's what it is, over the last number of years, and yet have yet to have anything really yield for the benefit of Springfield. Now, if they could come up and say to us, the WMR, the previous partnerships actually brought this to the RM of Springfield, then maybe I could see value for money. But I always want to see value for the money because, again, $17,000 plus is a lot of money, and it does make a dent because it's not only $17,000 here, it's 15 there, it's another 3 there. Cumulatively, we're hemorrhaging money. And I think my responsibility on council is to ensure, as you know, to cut the fat from the bailiwick and be a scrutineer. But again, I realize we're kind of pinned in a corner that if it's mandated to pay it, I just feel that it's not a very good benefit for the RM of Springfield.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I'd just like to add that Councillor Miller is, as you know, I've been on this council for 3 terms, and I can tell you it's been in legislation from the day I've been in it. And I can tell you that when it was reformatted, we had a get together on basically the WMR's goals and objectives and what to do, but it was mandated by the province, and we didn't have a choice. So I can assure you of that out of these 3 terms that I was on. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Kaczynski?
Yes, we're not disputing that, you know, we have to pay, but do we even know what this money is provided for? Like what they're using this money for?
I can answer that.
Yeah, please.
Well, the money is from all the other RMs plus the city. They have to contribute based on population there. Ours being one of the highest, probably one of the highest. There we're paying well, it's closer to 7,000 to 18,000 than the 17, but let's say 18,000. They have planners. They have the executive there that works with the chair. So there is it's not a huge, I think there's 4 people involved there and getting plus the office that is rented there to have the planners. And all these people were working together in trying to get across version 1, which is the Plan 2050, which is long gone. Not long gone, but it's since been shelved December the 19th, I believe. So the cost is the cost of doing business there for the staff and getting this prepared. And as you know, everything is costly there. So all 18 RMs in the city of Winnipeg work together, and there's a fee for that. The fee isn't spent frivolously. The fees are broken down to, you know, like any of the other business, and everybody else in the council, with the exception of myself, knows that fees make up like 80% of businesses there. So they've got planners, masters and planners. They got to pay them a little bit more. So it all goes to fees and the infrastructure.
So who is responsible for WMR? Just the board or the provincial government, like Minister of Municipal Affairs?
Yes, they report to the Minister of Municipal Affairs. We have to supply a report to the minister for January of 2027. So that's the next version coming out. We're still working on that, and I have another meeting on Thursday. So we're working out trying to take the bits that we had there from the meetings and the consultations that were done over the last 2 years that I've been attending there. trying to come up with a plan that works for all of us there. So all the mayors and the RMs there and the Reeves as well. They attend and we put our thoughts together, and we're trying to make a plan that's better suitable than Plan 2050.
And who is driving the whole program? Like who's setting up the goals? Like what's supposed to be achieved and what's supposed to be done with that time? Because we might wait another 2 years, probably we won't be on the council at that time. And but we're spending money right now, and maybe there'll be no results again. Who's going to control that? Like municipality have we paying the money, but they should come to us and we see the progress, what's happening. Otherwise, just waste of time and money again could be. That's possibility of it.
I don't. I wouldn't say that it was a waste of time and money. And this is how mediations and mitigation works. It's people have ideas, and then the public spoke quite vocally there. I would be cautious to say that it wasn't a proper representation of the population there. I think it was a small vocal group there. But that aside, 2050 is thrown or put on the shelf. Do we throw the baby out with the bathwater? My feeling is that there were some good parts with regards to that plan, and there were some bad parts. And I'll go on the record, and I've said it before, that I would have voted no there for the plan of 2050. I couldn't divulge that, nor should any councillor ever divulge what they're going to vote in advance, because we don't know what the details are going to be. We don't know what the details of this plan are going to be. And anybody who had comments that they want to get out of it right away, I'm not sure that's preemptive, premature. There you have to see what the plan is there and what's coming before. But to say no automatically is not representing an open mind nor good governance there. But the plan here is, do we pay the bill or not? And the bill is simply has to be paid. We're mandated to pay the bill. We pay our bills.
So when we have meeting with the minister, he was making notes, and when they're going to come up with that plan so you can start working on that plan? Do we know the time frame when the minister going to present some framework for WMR?
No, it's going to be debated there, and I'm not even sure where we're at with regards to that. There, I've heard somewhere in late summer, or I hate to even say that because we don't know until it's passed, and it's not passed until it gets the royal assent as well. So there could be a delay with that and so on. So the discussions are going to be in the legislative buildings with regards to Bill 4 and what that's going to be, the makeup of this is going to be, the parameters anyways, and we kind of have to work with that too. We don't know what it's going to be as well, but we do know what's good and what's bad, and what people didn't like with regards to Plan 2050, and what the good things and what the bad things are. So that we're quite cognizant of there. Councillor Miller had said that he liked the ARM discussions there were meeting, and I exactly I agree with that fully. And this is the same way where Councillor Miller states that ARM meetings are very good forum. They meet once a month there, and that we share ideas and so on. Excellent. This is the same thing. This is the same plan here. Is that there's 17 RMs plus the city of Winnipeg, and we're sharing all these ideas at the same time. It's no different than ARM there. We're actually sitting down and having discussions there. We're having discussions on the points that we want to get across. What's one RM may want something a little bit more that's good for the entire. We're looking at the entire picture here, and not just for the RM of Tache, West St. Paul, St. Clements, and East St. Paul, and so on like that. It's for the entire picture. We're looking at the city of Winnipeg being in the middle because they're the big boys in the block, and we all work together, just like ARM. No different than ARM It involves everybody getting together and issuing what they like to see, and it's not it's a process, is what I'm trying to say here, and that's about the best I can describe.
Yeah, I understand, but if you don't have directions, which road you're taking to achieve something, then you have meetings now, and what are you guys discussing when you don't even know, like you said, maybe end of the summer you might get,
Yeah.
or end of the spring. I don't know when's gonna happen. Direction from the minister to,
Right.
give the road, that you're gonna follow.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, Councillor Kaczynski. We are going to have discussions, public consultations that are going to be scheduled, but we're still kind of waiting for Bill 4 and seeing how everything is going to be working around that. I would hope that we could have some dates coming up in the near future where the public is going to have their chance to be given their insight and what they want to see and what the plan is going to be all about.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Fuel.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment that when I attended the planning conference in Brandon, that Honorable Glenn Samar did speak at that conference, and he assured everybody that there will be public open houses to debate and talk about your wishes and concerns, and that will happen. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor and Deputy Mayor Fuel. I do truthfully believe that this new government is taking a little bit different approach and wants to encourage and involve the public. So I'm very pleased with that. In terms of Ms. Lalonde's concerns, I just wanted to echo those again, because I think it's important to know that we don't want to have another layer of bureaucracy and people who aren't accountable, transparent, and frankly open. So I would ask the mayor if he could, as a representative on that organization, if he could divulge to us or make public the budget line items that this organization has. Maybe they, like you say, they're all legitimate, but all you have to do to really solve this issue is to be, what I say, open, accountable, and transparent. If it's legitimate, the public will understand and they might even buy in and support it. But because I don't even know what these dollars are being spent for, you say they're being spent for, this engineer and that person over there. It's just, as Ms. Lalonde said, another layer of bureaucracy that we're paying these people their salaries. But since 1998, we haven't yielded any specific benefit to the RM of Springfield. And if there is one, please have them name it, because I just don't see it. And this is tens of thousands of dollars. What I would like to see, and everybody knows, and Mr. Councillor Fuel knows because he's in the private sector, you would want performance measures and you want deliverables. For any dollar that you invest, you just don't throw it into the wind and hope for something 2 years down the pipe. You have a goal, you had a set of business plans that will show you what's going to yield from your investment. And to this date, I still don't see what we're going to yield from this quote investment, and because we don't even know how they're spending these dollars that we're getting. And that's my greatest irritant. So I challenge the mayor as our rep on that board to get some financial information so we know and we can share with the public. Don't hide it. And I'm not saying you, but the WMR ought not to hide this information from the public, because again, they'll get the buy-in for the public if they know what's being of benefit, why these dollars are being spent. So thank you.
Thank you. And I better not talk too much here, but my suggestion is that I'm sure there's a breakdown of the finances there, but I will check into that. If I don't know the answer, then I'm not going to waste time here. But there is something there, and I will look into that and get back to council. But I think we should discuss. There's comments there from Mr. Giesbrick there. Not sure you want me to contact or you want to talk with regards to that?
Up here, I think it's kind of the same concerns that the delegation spoke about. Just not seeing the benefit of the RM being a member of WMR, and that he feels the people have spoken clearly and they do not want they want the RM to opt out. And I guess that's when the opportunity arises. So it's attached to the agenda for public information, but yeah, like I said, it's pretty much what you've all touched on already.
Okay. Everybody else has read that as part of our agenda there. Unless there's any other questions with regards to that, I guess the resolution will be whether we pay this or not. Miller, Councillor Miller?
Just some clarity, Mr. Mayor. I believe it's true that we can't opt out at this particular time anyway. So I think you've all heard me before that I would be probably one of the first to opt out, especially on the old document. We don't know what's coming forward, but having said that, I don't think there's an option to opt out at this particular time. As you say, it's mandatory. So I just wanted to reinforce what Mr. Giesbrecht said here, that he's saying that we can opt out, but I don't believe we can opt out. So yet is the operative word.
I think he was referring to the opting out Bill 4 there and opting out of the membership fee. It's not clear, but it is down under the membership fee. But either or, we have to pay the bill. So there. So if we can read the resolution, then we can vote on that.
Be it resolved that Council of the RM of Springfield approve the 2025 Winnipeg Metropolitan Region Inc. membership fees in the amount of $17,995 on check number 162021.
Can I get a show of hands of those in support of membership fee? Melinda, Glenn, and Patrick. Those opposed? Mark and Andy, and it is so passed. Then if we can go to the consent agenda, can I get a mover and a seconder for if we can do that together? That'll be items 10.1, 10.2, 10.3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. If everybody's in agreement with that, can I get a mover and a seconder for this? Mark and Andy? Then with that there, if I can get a show of hands or support in the consent agenda for all those items specified, those in support? Is unanimous and it is carried. Then we get to new business there under 11.1. That's the Northeast Red Watershed District. There, can I get a mover and a seconder for 11.1? Mark and Glenn?
Be it resolved that Council of the RM of Springfield approve funding for the 2025-2026 Northeast Red Watershed District in the amount of $198,670.55.
Any questions from council? I see none. Can I get a Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. This $198,670, I do believe we do get an accounting and information on what they spend the money, their budget on every year. I'm a rep or have been a rep on them. So I think it's well used in this case because they do apply it to different projects within our community and of course the surrounding community. So this one I have no issue with supporting.
Thank you. Councillor Kaczynski?
Thank you. I would like to ask why we paying so much compared to the other municipalities?
You want to answer that, Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I can answer that. That's it because we're involved in an infrastructure and we pay for infrastructure costs, where the other municipalities don't have any infrastructure and they only pay for certain things like grow programs and things like that. Thank you.
Any other questions for item 11.1? I see none. Can I get a show of hands, those in support? That is unanimous and is carried. Then if we can go to 11.2, the Springfield-Tache Weed District Levy, a mover and a seconder, please. Patrick and Melinda.
Be resolved that funding for the 2025 Springfield-Tache Weed District Operations Levy in the amount of $120,829.77 be approved, and further that payment be made upon request in 2 equal payments.
Discussion or questions from council? Deputy Mayor Fuel?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment that there's a 3% increase that was compared to last year, and just would like everybody to know that that was a 3% increase. Thank you.
Thank you. No other questions there. Can I get a show of hands of those in support of the Wee District levy under 11.2? Show of hands of support. Unanimous and is carried. Then we'll go to the Springfield Chamber of Commerce membership. That's 11.3. Mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Fuel and Warren.
Be it resolved that the Springfield Chamber of Commerce annual membership in the amount of $2,500 be approved.
Any questions, comments from council? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I'm a little bit concerned that we're providing membership fees to a lobbying organization. Again, as I explained last year, and I think previous to that, chambers of commerce have specific lobbying efforts, initiatives. While it is a good group, I would not deny that, and there's definitely great people on that. I'm not entirely sure that we as a municipality should belong to them. We can participate in their events and activities and support them in different capacities, but if we belong to the Springfield Chamber of Commerce, I would encourage us to belong to the church at Pine Ridge and Oakbank Baptist Church and a whole bunch of others, because they do fantastic work within our community as well. And so is there any difference between a lobby group and a organization that serves the community? So I'm really, really concerned about that.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't consider the Chamber of Commerce to be a lobby group there. It all depends on how you make the definition of that. They work for the businesses that joined them from the RM of Springfield there. They work for the benefit of the RM of Springfield and many community initiatives there. They contribute to the programs there, and I just do not consider them a lobbying group. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. And I know we won't want to take a lot of time to debate this, but if you go on the website of any Chamber of Commerce, that word lobby is in their description. So I'm not sure how either you didn't visit the lobby or you didn't visit the Chamber of Commerce websites or what, but lobby is the characteristic instrument that these organizations candidly say. So I dispute you on the facts there.
Thank you. And the term lobbying, it could be construed any other way. I'm not an English major or anything like that. You've probably noticed that over the last 2.5 years there. But they're lobbying for businesses to come into the RM of Springfield is probably the way I would look at that. That said, the caveat being that I have not read the membership, not lately, but yeah. So no, I have not read that, but I would understand the lobbying term to be utilized, that they're working for the RM and the businesses are all RM businesses there, and using them to pronounce what the Springfield area is for, and it's an excellent area, as you well know, for business and residences alike. So that's the end of my comments with regards to that, and I think it's money well spent. I think we have to look at the bang for the dollar, and better to be a part of this and show our commitment to our community. With that said, I think we're ready to vote for this. If I get the reading, then we can vote on it.
Be it resolved that the Springfield Chamber of Commerce annual membership in the amount of $2,500 be approved.
I get a show of hands of those in support. Councillor Warren, Councillor Fuel, and Mayor Therrien. Those opposed? Councillors Miller and Kaczynski, and so passed. Then if we can go to 11.4, that's the December 2024 financial statement there. Mover and a seconder for 11.4, please. Councillor Miller and Mayor Therrien.
So Amram is here just to give a verbal report on the financial statement for council. Want to go up to.
Were you looking for this one over here, MRM? We were all taken aback by
Be
this.
my guest. Sure. It's so different.
Good evening, Mayor Pat and councillors. My name is Amram Bangura, Finance Manager here at RM of Springfield. We are presenting the December 2024 financial statements to council for approval so that we could submit it to the province. This financial statement is what we usually consider pre-public sector accounting standards compliant financial statement. What that means is that all those accounting entries, estimates that are prescribed for by the public sector accounting standards have not yet been recorded into the financial statement. But this financial statement include accruals of purchases that were made in 2024, but not necessarily paid for in 2024 and were accrued for, so that because they were budgeted for in 2024, we've captured the bulk of that. There are instances where invoices that are 2024 still comes in, say March. We had one yesterday, but we're accounting for those in 2025. Those are things we can do looking at how material the invoices are. There are some, so one of the changes, there are significant changes on this financial statement. When we went through the 2023 audit, we had those grants, significant grants for the rec center and the Dows project, and the auditors, they proposed that those grants should be deferred. We had recognized them as income in 2023, but because there were conditions tied to those grants that were not yet fulfilled as prescribed by the, an accounting standard for grants relating to capital projects. So we agreed with auditors, and they were already part of the reserves. So we had to take them out of reserves and determine what is called a deferred revenue. It's on the same side of the balance sheet. It's just a classification issue. So instead of it being shown as reserves, those grants are now shown on the balance sheet as revenue that is deferred, waiting for us to fulfill the conditions of the grant. And as we fulfill conditions of the grant, that is, as the project is undertaken, we will be bringing those grants in to recognize them as revenue. So that's a huge change that happened. So the reserve balance, when you compare November financial statement that we submitted to December financial statement, you'll find that the balance is dropped by a couple of $1 million. But again, in those reserve balances, we've allocated interest income and some other transfers that were on the 2024 financial plan that were approved. For example, like the vehicle and equipment reserve, there was about a 1.4 million, 5 million that was approved on the plan. So we've made all those transfers. They are in those reserves. There are some, so that's the first part, talking about the reserves, the changes there. On the revenue side, there are some significant revenue variances that are on the December financial statement, like for our supplemental taxes. This is one item that it's usually difficult to determine what the actual amount would be for supplemental taxes. But given that for the previous couple of years recently, the actuals have been a little above budget. We've looked at it, the CAO have looked at it, and we've decided 2025, we can increase that budget a little bit. We're increasing it to about 500,000. So there will still be variance, but it may not be that significant. So we have one that I will speak to, the other, recreation and cultural services. There's a huge variance there of 1.5 million on the revenue side. And this represents recoveries that we receive from SHHI. And on the expense side, you will also find there is a huge variance there because what happens is we pay the SHHI bills to BIRD directly, the RM pays, and then we invoice SHHI and they send us back the money. So those were some of the items. On the expenditure side, we've seen significant increases in the public works budget department, the actuals for 2024. Even as we've discussed, looking at the 2025 budgets, there have been significant cost increases in the public works department for things like equipment operator wages. According to the manager, equipment operators, they are spending much more time doing their work. So that costs have increased. There is increase in road maintenance. According to the manager, we have about 500 miles of road, and for items like road reshaping, they're spending like $10,000 per mile. So those costs have gone up, material costs have gone up. So there is increased cost and cost for drainage also all across the cost centers of the Public Works Department. These are some of the significant changes. Yes, please. Oh.
I'm getting them going.
Are you getting it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. One other item I would like to talk about is the disaster mitigation. We will see on the expense side, usually, because we don't budget for this, but we do make claims and recover those funds. And so we have them on the expense side and on the income side. So on the expense side, it is shown clearly there on the financial statement. We spent about $712,000, but on the revenue side, it is captured under provincial grants. We have a variance of $2 million plus there, but the amount that we recovered, that we claimed for disaster financial assistance was about $805,000 to cover that expense. So there's a net income to that effect. So I just wanted to touch on some of these. Then the significant one is that the grants for those two projects, they are on the balance sheet. When they are in reserves, they are still on the balance sheet. It's just that instead of being classified as reserves, they are classified as deferred revenue because of conditions tied to those grants. And as the projects are undertaken and costs are incurred, we'll be recognizing those grants as we move forward. Is there any question?
No, that's very well done, Amram. So we're still waiting for some receipts for this fiscal year then?
We have captured all that we need to capture for 2024.
Oh, that's good.
Yes. So what is left for us to do now is to make, after this financial statement, we submit it to the province, then we will put in those accounting estimates into the operating statement. For example, a huge one is the amortization of all our fixed assets on the books. So that will go in. We also have issues like the leasing, the graders and excavators that we lease. Because it's a capital lease, there is a way we have to account for it to capture the cost of the lease. Those are just some of the examples. And just like we've done for the asset retirement obligation, that goes in also every year. So we make those calculations and put them through before we submit for the audit.
Thank you.
But all those are calculations that are based on accounting requirements.
Okay.
Yes.
I just Mrs. Nyland had some comments here. Did you read her comments at all? I think
Yes.
your detailed brief basically answered that, but I'm not an accountant.
Yes, so she raised the issue of the reserves.
Mhm.
And so I've explained that the reason there is a decrease, a substantial change, the reserve, we have 5.65 million from the province for the Dows project and 3.76 million for the rec center. So that came to about 9 point something million. So that is taken out of the reserve balances and put on the balance sheet as a deferred revenue.
Right, you explained that.
Yes.
And
then she raised some concerns about the revenue lines for the variances. So some of the variances that I've touched on, like taxes added, that I've talked about, it's very difficult to budget for supplemental taxes because we don't know which properties will be affected that will have those supplemental taxes from. But we've consistently been budgeting 300,000, and we've seen that in the recent years, the actuals has been above 300,000. So we've decided to raise that budget a little bit from 300 to 500,000 in the 2025 budget for supplemental taxes. So those are some of the issues. And returns on investments, which is the interest income that we earn. We were in a very high interest rate environment. Now we're in a different environment. And we have GICs that are locked in. Those interest income, well, the one is 24 months GIC. It's not going to come into 2025. The interest will not be reported in 2025 because we only get interest at the end of the term of the GIC. So when we're budgeting for our interest income, we have to really come up with some kind of an estimate. The amount has been low that we've budgeted when we're in high interest rates environments because we've been budgeting $165,000. We are going to increase that a bit, but we will still likely be seeing significant variances there.
Oh, it's too bad we don't keep these high interest rates there. We got lots in our reserves there, but thank you. Any questions from council?
Yes.
Councillor Kaczynski?
Thank you. You mentioned that we have in reserve for rec center grants only 3,700,000.
The amount we received.
So when we gonna get the balance of 1 more million?
Yeah, about 940,000. I think the agreement is already signed for us to have those funds. Maybe Colin will help me with that one.
So I think there's some more conditions that have to be met before they'll forward any more funds to us. So they give us a portion and then we get the remaining when we've hit different milestones. So.
And with the new government, they're gonna.
It's signed. They can't take that money away. So.
Okay, what conditions we have to meet?
Completion of the project.
Oh. So you mean that they're not gonna give us if we just do phase one?
It's a small portion of the grant that more, like if it's a 80% or, I would have to read the document, but typically they're not going to give you all the money up front so that, they hold you accountable for finishing that project.
Okay, thank you.
And that's the reason why we have to defer grants that are conditional, because sometimes the agreement will stipulate that even interest that you're earning on those funds when they're with you, the grantor can decide to ask for those funds to be refunded if the conditions of the grant are not fulfilled.
Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the work that you do. I think it's very important. In fact, I would allege that you're a gatekeeper. You know the importance of gatekeeping in Scripture, in the Holy Bible, the Torah, the Book of Mormon, or even the Quran. You are one that we put as a council enormous amount of trust in, because your numbers are really all that we have to go on in terms of project. So my only question to you is, do you foresee or can you advise council of any irregularities or any other concerns that we should be advised about in your documentation tonight?
Not that I'm aware of. So we have about 1,200 plus accounts in our financial statement. That's a lot. These financial statements are subject to audits annually, and auditors, they are independent of the RM and of management. They have their own safeguards in managing their business relationship with the RM to ensure that they are independent, not just in appearance, but in mind, as they execute their professional judgment. And management, we in no way influence their decision. And this, the grant we're talking about is a typical example where the auditor says, you have recognized this grant as income in a given year, but there are conditions, stipulations tied to this grant that you've not yet fulfilled. And therefore, those grants should be deferred because the funds are still not yet your funds. And we agreed with the auditors and made those adjustments. So on the audited financial statement, that is what was reported. So we have no sway over the auditors. And for us as management and an entity, I personally, I value a very strong internal control environment. And I have had trainings even with the finance team. We talked about internal controls because the controls are there to safeguard the assets of the RM. They are also there to ensure that our financial reporting is reliable, but also that we comply with applicable laws or regulations binding on us. So as transactions are processed, those controls, they are effectively working to prevent or to minimize errors or prevent fraud. And for me personally, I'm from Africa. I've been through war. I've been through a lot in life. And when I came here, I studied. I was almost a chartered accountant in Africa, registered with a UK body. But I was not designated before I came to Canada. So I went through the process. So I see no reason why I would give that away. And I have ethical codes that guide my profession. Also above that, I am a Christian. I believe in God and I live according to biblical principles. And I'm proud of that. But I have never, in my time that I've been here, been in a situation where somebody has tried to get me to do something that is against the professional codes and ethics that I operate by. So management follows the internal control procedures that are here, our procurement policies, our policies regarding how we pay for items, how we source goods and services. And we do check those. Even the awareness, just yesterday, a staff, accounts payable clerk, brought a bill to me and was asking questions because something was not too clear to her. And we discussed it and we contacted the staff to clarify. So this happened on a regular basis. So as long as we have our internal controls operating effectively, and these controls, they are our policies. Sometimes even our behavior, our culture can be referred to as an internal control, the way we do things. That consciousness, that awareness that we have of our stewardship responsibility helps to enhance that. So, and the auditors do test those controls. I hope I answered your questions.
Very thoroughly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Arma. Councillor Kaczynski.
I have one more question, Armand. Where we can find some savings in our budget, if you can point it out.
Well, I believe that this RM has been doing quite well financially. Every year, there is transfers that we budget for to transfer into our reserves to fund our capital projects. Like I mentioned, the vehicle and equipment reserve that we make transfer into to fund those purchases. Our operating budget alone is not just funded by property taxes that we raise, it's also funded by grants. We get a huge operating grant from the province, about $1.8 million that helps to fund our operations. So the RM is not in any financial difficulty. The RM does make transfers, which you can consider as savings. And the funds that the RM has in its bank accounts, we've made efforts, we've made investments at a time. Just when the central bank made the first 25 basis point cuts, we were able to lock in a 24 months GIC. That allows us to earn higher interests for the next 24 months. If we had not done that, because the interest on our savings is variable, so our interest would have decreased significantly by now. But because we've made those investments, it helps to ensure that we're able to generate substantial interest income to help support our operating activities. And those interests are actually allocated to the reserves, which are used to fund capital projects. So we are saving, we're making huge savings into the general reserve, the vehicle and equipment reserves, and the other reserves. And our development levies that come in, they're also going to the reserves to fund capital projects.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? I see none. Thank you very much, MRM, for sticking around for this as well. And I think Mrs. Nyland's questions were answered quite clearly. Then if we can get a show of, or read the resolution there, we can vote.
Be it resolved that the financial statement for the month of December 2024 be approved as presented.
I'm going to show hands of those in support. That is unanimous and it is carried. We'll go to a list of accounts. That's 11.5. Can I move her and a seconder for that as well, please? Patrick and Glenn.
Whereas disbursements have been reviewed for the period of February 13th to March 12th, 2025, be it resolved that all accounts listed on the attached printout from check 162-206 to 162-352, totaling $878,362.68 be approved for payment as well as the following EFT entries. Western Financial, $15,259.70, Amelia, $335.03, Superpass 2023, RBC Visa, $21,603.67, John Deere, $26,146.86, Manitoba Hydro, $38,098.32, Bell Mobility, $2,027.82, Bell Canada, $6,264.01, Volvo, $20,898.98, Red River Co-op, $46,916.61. And be it further resolved that February payroll in the amount of $318,359.89 be approved.
Thank you. The questions from council? Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of inquiries because, of course, I haven't seen the invoices or the expenses related to these. So I'll give you the numbers. There's 3 items particularly. One is 162284, and it's Xylem Canada LP. Just I've never heard of them, and I don't know what they would actually be. 162284. Xylem.
I want to say that's to do with fire department. So it's some kind of purchase, but I'll confirm exactly what the purchase was.
And that's fair. Again, I'm putting you on the spot, and I don't mean to do that. But two other ones, as long as you can get back to us, I'm absolutely fine with that. 162277, Starens Limited for 16,000. I'm not familiar with. Again, what?
It sounds like a hauler's invoice, but I'll confirm again.
Okay, it just seems different than what I've seen before. And the final one is 162271, Praxis Consulting for 816638.
That's an investigation report.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from council at all? I see none. Or Andy?
This is progress payments for the consultant, but I believe they expect the project to start this year. Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
If there's no other questions, then we're prepared to, we've already read the resolution. Can I get a show of hands, those in support? That is unanimous and is carried. 11.6 is a land sale policy there. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that too, please? Patrick and Glenn.
Be it resolved that Council of the RM of Springfield approve the land sale policy as presented.
Any questions from council? Oh, sorry, Mark, I guess I'll start. I'll just continue. I did have comments with regards to Mrs. Nyland's questions there, comments with regards to the word or, and I'll defer to land sale policy comments from our planning department, which is exactly what I was going to say there. So go ahead, Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question for our CEO. Is this pretty consistent to other municipalities? Is this a template or has it been modified from what other jurisdictions do?
I can't comment on whether it's similar. I know that Martin was the author of this policy, but it was building on our current policy that was passed in 2022. So I know when we drafted that policy, it was reviewing, probably more out of province policies that we found more information on. So we crafted it from, I think, more Ontario municipalities. But then when Martin took it on and when we were creating our list of RM land, we felt the need to update this policy to reflect that a little better.
Any other questions? Then if we can get a show of hands, those in support of the land sale policy 11.6, those in support? Unanimous, carried. We'll go to 11.7. That's a Purple Day Epilepsy across Manitoba. A mover and a seconder for that too, please. Mark and Melinda.
Whereas Purple Day is a global effort dedicated to promoting epilepsy awareness in countries around the world, and whereas Purple Day will be celebrated on March 26th annually to increase understanding, reduce stigma, and improve the quality of life for people with epilepsy throughout the country and globally. Therefore, be it resolved that Council of the RM of Springfield proclaim March 26, 2025 Purple Day in an effort to raise awareness of epilepsy in Canada.
Thank you. Any questions? I see none. Can I get a show of hands? Those in support 11.7. That is unanimous and is carried. We'll go to 11.8. That's the Red River Basin Commission North Chapter Fish and Dinner Gala. That was a mouthful. If I can get a mover and a seconder for that, please. Melinda and Patrick.
Be it resolved that all of council be delegated to attend the Red River Basin Commission North Chapter Fish Dinner Gala, March 19th, 2025 in West St. Paul at their discretion.
Thank you. Show of hands, those in support of the resolution. It's unanimous and carried. We'll go to 11.9. It's the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, FCM conference. Mover and a seconder for 11.9, please. Melinda and Glenn.
Be resolved that all of council be delegated to attend the 2025 Federation of Canadian Municipalities Conference, May 29th to June 1st in Ottawa, Ontario at their discretion.
Thank you. Question for Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question on what would be the anticipated cost for all of council to participate. In other words, the membership fees, or I should say the conference fees, as well as any stipends and per diems and things like that. When I'm in corporate business, we always have to table in front of a board of directors the anticipated cost for participating at certain events. And I think our municipality should be no different. It seems almost that if we approve this, which might be okay, it's kind of a willy-nilly that we don't know what the anticipated costs. And I think the public deserve some sort of accountability of how much we're committing to go forward on this. And second of all, my other comment is that while I attend the RM meetings, I've realized that certain municipalities, and I can be specific here, that the RM of McDonald, for instance, they are only budgeting to allow 2 or 3 councillors, not the full council, to do that. So these are significant expenditures. I mean, there's thousands of dollars in hotels and food and everything else that happens here. And while we just heard a report from our financial manager that we're in good shape, it doesn't mean that we should still be reckless and spend money like it's coming out of our yin yang. In fact, I'm going to opt out not to participate at this one, and I'm hoping that there will be representation from our council, because I look forward to their reports and their updates and what they learned. And I think I can put the onus on any one of our members of council here to do the same, because I would do the same if I was representing us. I would want to take back the information for not only council members, but for the public. So I just want to say that I'll opt out of this one, but if we could have a cost accounting for it, it would be very important, and it'd be open, transparent, and accountable to the public going forward.
And you're wanting that right now or after the fact? Okay.
Any other questions there? I feel I just have to mention there for people there, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities is the entire Canada representatives there at the FCMs. It's an integral part of getting to know how Canada operates. I met the mayor of a very small, isolated community in north of Iqaluit there. Talked to this individual and his wife, and they were fantastic people. And knowing how it works, how council works in an Inuit nation there was very informative. So you meet all kinds of people. I met with the Consul General for the government of Japan as well, and you meet this through the rapport building and the ties that you make. I given away hundreds of cards and made good friends and good contacts. So these the FCM, like the ARM that you had mentioned there, Councillor Miller, prior. There, it's a good chance to rapport, get to know the communities, and try to bring some businesses in there. And I tried to bring something from the government of Japan. Of course, I'll do whatever it takes, and if it costs me a beer, then I did that. But it's a good chance to get out there. You went to the one in Calgary, you and the Councillor Kaczynski there. So there's lots of rapport building. That's the main idea, is getting out there, and great classes there as well for understanding how other different topics and so on. And I suspected the topics this year will be with regards to the federal trade tariffs and so on going down the road there. So that's what I have to say, Councillor Miller.
And I would agree with you, Mayor, that there is definite advantage to participating, and I would never not want council members to participate. I guess my beef is just that I don't know that we should delegate everyone. In fact, I could ask again the CEO if she could do a bit of a synopsis on how municipalities handle this. In other words, of the all the municipalities in the province, do all of council and all the municipalities participate? I know for a fact that wouldn't be true, because I've heard from councillors from McDonald, and I think East St. Paul might be in the same boat. But having said that, I think it's critical that some people from our municipality attend. I just don't believe that we should always all attend, because I think Councillor Fuel can bring back as good as information as I can. So,
Deputy Mayor Fuel.
Well, I agree with you, Councillor Miller, that this is a good conference. Just to add to that is I encourage every council member to go, because again, I can't go to the breakout sessions. There's only one of me, where if there's a few breakout sessions, I can't go to multiple breakout sessions. Having said that, also there's the piece to the voting for your representative in the area. You know, it's important that we can get the votes in to get our representative that we want in this area representing us for FCM. Also, we get a gas tax. I know it's not called that anymore, but I believe the stipulation is we only get that tax if we belong to the FCM, and that's approximately $1 million that we get that we wouldn't get if we weren't a member. And again, there's so many ways you could look at it, I guess, and there's no wrong way, but it's how do you get the best out of it that I'd put out there. Thank you.
Thank you. I see no other questions there. If we can just get a show of hands for 11.9 Federation of Canadian Municipalities conference. Those in support? Councillor Warren, Kaczynski, Fuel, and Therrien. Those opposed? Councillor Miller, and is so passed. 11.10, that's the AMM Spring Convention, Manitoba Good Roads Association, and the rest we can awards and banquets there. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Melinda and Andy.
Be resolved that all of council be delegated to attend the AMM Spring Convention and Manitoba Good Roads Association AGM and Awards Banquet in Winnipeg, April 14th to 16th at their discretion.
Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I would echo exactly what I just said. I think it's absolutely important for us to have representation there. I just don't believe that all of us need to go, particularly to these banquets and things like those get very expensive for the taxpayer for us to have a wonderful meal on their dime. I just don't see that as being what I stand for. So I totally believe we should go to it, but maybe not all of us. And I'll opt out too, if that makes any difference.
Councillor Warren.
Thank you, Mayor. Now, I don't always echo what you say, and I'm not going to echo you here because I am part of the Manitoba Good Roads Board. And this year, we have 2 recipients that were nominated in our area and won. So I think it's really important that if you're not going to attend the AMM, that you come to Manitoba Good Roads and support our residents that won. If you're concerned about the money aspect, I'll buy your $65 ticket. That's all it is. Just for that, just to support our resident. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Miller.
Actually, that's a good point, Councillor Warren, but this might be the opportunity to share who that resident is, because I frankly don't know.
I'm not sure if we can. We should. Is it public now? Because I'm
Yeah,
not sure of the other
we
contestants.
received the notice quite a few months ago. It was attached to a consent agenda for information. Can't say I know the names offhand, but I can definitely bring that forward in another meeting.
And we'll put it on our
One
website
is,
as well.
I can tell you one for sure,
Okay.
is the Boker family from Queens Valley Road. They won for their exceptional yard. Their yard is absolutely wonderful to look at. And I'm really proud of them, and I'm happy that a resident in Springfield won.
And our roads last year, won the Good Roads, correct me if I'm wrong here, Melinda. Last year we had that award from the public, presented to Public Works for our roads in the RM of Springfield. And so we were all present there and had our picture taken there with our Public Works there. It's always a good idea to do so there. I am not sure if I'm going to be able to attend just for health reasons there, but it's a great time there. And we don't go there to party it up or anything like that. It's and I'm not saying somebody or insinuating that somebody said that, but it's a good idea to always get out there, and we're representing the RM. I know everywhere I go, I wear my RM of Springfield. I got a good T-shirt and I got a tattered one there, so I'm always wearing that the RM of Springfield shirts there, so on. So I'm always out there holding my card out there and representing the RM Springfield at all times. But with that there, I think if we could get a show of the support there, that'd be great. There, can I get, have we read this already? Okay, can I get a show of hands of those in support of 11.10 AMM Spring Convention Manitoba Good Roads? That's Melinda, Glenn, and Patrick there. Are those opposed? Mark? Andy, were you there for in support? Okay, so in support. Sorry, I didn't see your hand there. So it's so passed. Then we go to 11 there. It's a council schedule. Getting a mover and a seconder, please. Mark and Melinda.
Just some notes on this before I read the resolution. So previously we had canceled June 3rd, meeting already due to the FCM conference. June 10th, there's an AMM Eastern District meeting that's booked from 8:45 to 3, and that would be when our Committee of the Whole is held at 1 o'clock. So the resolution is requesting that we could move June 10th meeting to a council meeting at 6 p.m. And then we would have our regular council meeting again on June 17th. So the resolution reads, be it resolved that the following changes be approved to the council meeting schedule. Tuesday, June 10th, Committee of the Whole be changed to a council meeting.
Okay, can I get a show of hands, those in support? That is unanimous and it is so carried. We have nothing for close meeting there, so we'll put it out there to adjourn. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adjourn? Melinda and Glenn, and we'll adjourn the meeting at 7:46 p.m. Thank you very much.